You know what counts as student data. Now, let's talk about the laws that protect it. Welcome back to Redaction in the Real World. And today, we're breaking down the student privacy laws and the misconceptions that cause real compliance risk. Let's start with the most important one, FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. FERPA is a U.S. federal law that protects the privacy of student education records and gives parents and later students rights to access, review, and limit disclosure of those records. But here's the first big misconception. FERPA is not just about students under 18. When a student turns 18 or enrolls in post-secondary institutions, FERPA rights transfer from the parent to the student. These individuals are called eligible students, and they control access to their records regardless of age. That means a 19-year-old high school student has FERPA rights. Same applies to a 30-year-old college student. And parents no longer have automatic access unless specific exceptions apply. One common exception: if the student is claimed as a dependent for tax purposes, schools may disclose records to parents, but that disclosure still has limits. FERPA isn't the only law that affects how schools handle student data. Let's break down the most common ones. COPPA, or the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, applies when schools use online tools, apps, or platforms that collect data from children under 13. This can include learning apps, classroom software, EdTech platforms, and student accounts created for instructional use. Even when a vendor collects the data, schools are often still responsible for how it's handled, including parental notice or consent where required, limiting data use to educational purposes, and the secure storage and handling of student information. Here's the bottom line. If an online tool touches data from students under 13, COPPA is part of the conversation. GDPR, or General Data Protection Regulation, is a European privacy law, but it can still impact US schools. GDPR may apply when schools work with international vendors or cloud providers, or when processing data about EU residents, such as students, parents, and staff, or using EU-based vendors. Even if your district is US-based, where data flows and who touches it matters. When privacy laws are misunderstood or mishandled, the consequences aren't theoretical. Schools can face the risk of loss of federal funding entirely, formal complaints and investigations, increased legal exposure, media scrutiny, and long-term loss of parent and community trust. Understanding student privacy laws isn't about memorizing statutes, it's about knowing who controls the data, what counts as an education record, and how easily identifiers can appear across formats. If you work in education, save this episode and share it with anyone who handles records, video footage, or public requests. In the next episode, we'll look at how your school can stay ahead of the curve and make student privacy workflows more manageable. Stay tuned.